Hello and welcome to the third part of this Vanishing Point tutorial. Here we're going to take a look at how to clone using the marquee tool. Now this is probably the easier of the two ways of cloning, and what we can do is just draw the marquee as per usual, but because it's in the plane shown here by the green outline, it'll be in perspective. So hopefully we'll be able to select one of the shutters, drag and drop that over another shutter, and it'll save us quite a long time on trying to creatively rebuild the open shutter up here on the top left. So you'll find the marquee tool just above the stamp tool. Shortcut for that is just M. Once selected, as you would normally within Photoshop to draw the marquee, just left click and hold, draw the marquee, and that makes your selection. Now as you see, because we're working within Vanishing Point, the marquee is actually being drawn in perspective. So here we can see it's at a slight skew, and as we release the mouse, we'll see the running ants going around our shutter here at the bottom. Now you can move that selection around a bit if you like. If I move that over to the left and right, you'll see how the selection perspective changes. If I line that up nicely over our window here in the middle, then all I need to do is just make sure that I've got a little bit of brickwork around the outside and that I've got the shadow down here at the bottom. So now to drag that clone up to the top left, I hold down Alt, put my cursor just in the middle of our selection, and then if I left click and just drag, it'll move the whole of our shuttered window up and over our left hand window here. And if I move it to each of these shutters, you'll see how the perspective of that window changes. So we'll just drag that over the window and we'll just try to get that nicely aligned. And once we're happy with its position, we just release the mouse button and we can now just see that selection around the top shutter. Now before we go on, I'm just going to zoom into that so we can really see it nice and close, and just check that it's all right before we deselect that. Now the first thing I notice is just a little bit shy of the window on the right hand side, so I just want to increase its dimensions slightly, and to do this we use the transform tool. So shortcut for that is T, or it's just the sixth option down in the tool options. And as soon as you do that, you'll suddenly see the familiar anchor points appearing all around that shuttered window. So what we're going to do is just to click on the bottom and just drag that down slightly. And we're also just going to move the top up just a tad. And if I drag the mouse just outside of the selection, I'll see the normal rotate cursor appear, and I can just rotate that slightly just to match in with the perspective of the window below. Once I'm happy with that, I can go Control D, which will deselect that area. And we can see how that's nicely cloned in over the top. Then we can go back and use the stamp tool just to neaten up those edges. Now, unlike the transform tool within Photoshop where you'd hit enter to confirm, don't do that in Vanishing Point tool, because that'll OK all of the edits that you've made within Vanishing Point and take you back to Photoshop. So do make sure you go Control D or Apple D just to deselect that selection. So using the marquee tool is a very quick and easy way just to select and clone large areas of the image. And now we've got that there, we can just use the stamp tool. We've got healing turned off, just switch that on quickly. And what we can do is we can just make our selection for cloning, and then we can just clone in some of those areas. With the white, if we use have healing on, it's going to go a little bit too over the top. So what we'll do is first of all we'll just clone in some brickwork with a larger brush and take out that shadow area as well. And then I can just clean up that brickwork, get rid of this sort of brush shape by just using the healing just switched on, and then re-go over some of those bricks, and we'll just get a more natural look to the brickwork. Again, here with the wire that's going across, instead of getting rid of that, we're actually going to utilize that because it adds a bit more character to the building. So I'm going to just click on that to make our first point, reduce the brush tool just a little bit, and now I can just start to very carefully build up that wire going across underneath. Now if you find it looks a little bit too repetitive on the pattern, what you can do is just to turn the healing on, and again we'll select another area of brickwork, and then we can just very carefully just go over that with the clone, and we can just neaten up and just try and get rid of some of that repetition of brickwork, so we again get a more natural look to our bricks. So once you finish with the centre building, you can then use the create plane tool just to create other planes around all of the other buildings, and then use the marquee and the stamp tool just to take out all of the other washing. And once you're happy with the final result, just click OK, and that'll take you out of Vanishing Point and back into Photoshop itself. Then you're free to make any of your usual enhancements such as levels, hue saturation and sharpening. Okay, so that's an introduction to the Vanishing Point tool within Photoshop CS2 and Photoshop CS3.